All right, we are live on a Tuesday. It's the four of us. You know the time, you know the place. Open season. Billy Allen hosting the way, and we've got Frank Bradica, Justin Elaine, and Alex Tordai, as always, wrapping up on all the latest in sports news. We're going to be talking about, real quickly, the national championship game last night as Nick Saban pulls in his seventh, count them, seven championships. And TB12 and the Bucks going to Washington, take care of business there. We'll talk a little bit about the Saints, see if Mitchell Trubisky will be back in Chicago. The Browns winning their first playoff game since 1994. And then we're going to get a little bit into the Ravens, DK Metcalf, Jalen Ramsey. We've obviously got a little bit to talk about with the Celtics pulling off 4 in a row, but they really haven't been playing lately with all the guys out on COVID. Bradley Beal has been scoring a ton, but it hasn't really been working out in Washington. And LaMelo Ball has pretty much already surpassed his brother Lonzo. We're going to be wrapping on all that as well as Luka's triple-doubles. But we start out, guys, with Alabama last night. Mac Jones, was he good last night? Yeah, he threw for 464 yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 picks, completed 80% of his passes. Was Devonta Smith good? Yeah, he had 215 yards and 3 touchdowns in the first half. Guys, just how impressive was this Alabama team? Nick Saban winning his 7th championship. Feel like not a lot of people talk about just how dominant he's been. And people talk about this might have been the most talented team that Alabama's had. What do you guys think about this team as we kind of wrap up the college season?
Is anybody surprised? I mean, Saban's been trying to get more championships than Bill for a long time, and after his Miami stint, he knew the NFL, he wasn't going to get it. They've been unbelievable. They're kind of making college football unwatchable. I mean, unless we get some way to divert recruits to other places, I mean, this is probably just going to continue to be a wagon until he decides to go.
Yeah, again, it was inevitable that they were going to win this game. I mean, I think people thought it was going to be a lot closer than by over 25 points. But my question is, did Ohio State study the Alabama offensive playbook? Because Smith was wide open on every single play, it seemed like. It's not like he made any crazy catches.
Sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, what was Ohio State defense doing? It was like, all right, we're just going to let him be single coverage the whole game, and we're just not going to cover him. So we're let the Heisman candidate or Heisman winner just get 215 yards in the first half.
Well, let's pump the brakes here. Look, no one's talking about it. Ohio State was missing 13 guys, a few of their best defensive linemen. I mean, it's not the easiest thing in the world to lose your starting D-line and then go out and win a football game. Not only that, but their linebackers were shooting the gaps every time they were doing play action. That's how they were killing them. The linebackers had to make up for their lackluster D-line play because that defensive line wasn't getting pressure all game. The Alabama starters, they made them look like little boys, and that's something that jumped off the screen to me. They were not getting anywhere with their D-line last night, and that's because they were playing with backups. I think, obviously, Alabama, unbelievably dominant season, not taking anything away from them. Not saying that Alabama wouldn't have won the championship anyway, but I do believe it would have been a different game. We definitely are seeing the greatest dynasty in college football history right now, run by Saban at Alabama, and I don't think it's going to end anytime soon.
So do you think there's a chance that Nick Saban wins 10 championships?
Yes.
Yes.
If he coaches another 10 years, yes.
Especially when more head coaches keep going to the NFL. Like all of these great head coaches keep getting taken from the college game, going to the pros. Why would Saban leave? It's like the UConn women's basketball coach. Why would you go to men's if you can just keep dominating women's basketball? Why is Nick Saban going to go anywhere? He's just going to keep winning and winning and winning.
Well, now that he has a genius in Billy O'Brien joining the offensive coordinator spot, did you see that?
Actually happened?
Yeah, he's going to be going there to Alabama. So I mean, how can you knock their title chances for the next few years?
Don't let him touch the draft. They don't have any draft picks, so they're good.
All right, so let's flip the page. Let's get into Wild Card Weekend. TB12 and the Bucks going to Washington and take care of business against the Redskins. Chase Young basically had zero impact on the game. And thought that they did an amazing job of kind of bottling him up. The Bucks offense seems to be clicking on all cylinders here in January. Are they the best offense going in the playoffs right now? Because I feel like they definitely are.
Nah, it's just the Chiefs haven't played yet. Let's not go, prisoner of the moment. The Chiefs are the best offense in the NFL. They're going to look like the best offense in the NFL. Sorry. The Bucks are good. They played well. That team can't score. If Washington could have scored 20 points and put a little bit of pressure on Tampa, they might have actually been able to do something. But that offense is maybe the worst offense I've ever seen, especially the worst offense I've ever seen in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're the best. I think it's the Chiefs. Maybe the Packers. We'll see. Saints didn't do too much against Chicago, but I'm expecting this week's game with the Saints and Bucks to be an absolute barn burner between the two offenses. So I guess we'll see who's the better team between those two this coming weekend.
I'm going to have to take the Bucks here in terms of offense being the best. And why I'm saying that finally coming around on them is the difference Antonio Brown makes in this offense is you can't single cover Antonio Brown. I mean, in my opinion, he's still the best receiver on that team in terms of a hands, route perspective. Mike Evans is a beast, but he's also hurt. Antonio Brown makes that team, in terms of offensive perspective, very scary. Now, the Chiefs have Mahomes, Kelsey, and Tyreek Hill, but the Bucks have more depth. That's what makes them potentially more scary.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting to see Leonard Fournette get so much running room too. Like he's completely been a bust this year, but he found a lot of running room. You saw Mike Evans kind of playing through injury with a huge game there, and it just seems like Brady's really kind of getting the ball to the right guys. Gronkowski's kind of taken on his position that he had in New England at the end of in the playoffs, kind of, and being a blocker, kind of putting his hand in the dirt. Josh Dodd says that the best offense can't have Leonard Fournette at running back, but I think we're kind of seeing that he was fresh. And I just think that, I think the biggest thing is them just showing some of the records that Tom Brady has. They're showing this stat that it just brings me into like some of the unbeatable things that Tom Brady's done. So they showed this stat that Tom Brady has won against 17 different opponents in the playoffs. The next quarterback in terms of wins is Joe Montana with 16. Tom Brady could name off 17 without even duplicating an opponent. He also has 12,000 yards in the playoffs. I mean, what do you guys think is probably the most unbeatable playoff record that Brady's set?
Can it be a record that gets you into the playoffs, or does it have to be a playoff record?
It can be a record that gets you into the playoffs, sure.
Only two people in NFL history have gone 20 years without a losing season. Belichick almost did it this year, but he couldn't quite get it done. Only two people. Can you name those people? Tom Landry, Tom Brady. One coach, one player all time has played 20 years and never had a losing season. I think that's the most impressive thing because it shows you simply can't be bad with the man. And I have bashed him all year. I think he was a diva on his way out, but the guy is still legit. He's still the GOAT. And he's making the losingest franchise in North American sports a legitimate betting favorite for the Super Bowl.
I mean, 12,000 yards is probably never going to get beat. But if he gets 7 Super Bowls, let's face it, that's also never getting beat. I don't think 6 Super Bowls is ever getting beat. And like Mahomes it's just the one thing that no one ever talks about with Brady is he never really got hurt except for that 1 year. Everyone can talk about how great Mahomes is, and he, from a standpoint right now, he looks like the greatest quarterback of all time. But you can't predict injuries. And Brady having 6 Super Bowls, it's never going to be beat. 12,000 yards, that means he's in the playoffs every single year for 20 years, and they always go at least past the first round except for 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say what's the most unbeatable because I think a lot of them are going to get beaten. And it's only a matter of time. I think every record Brady has will fall at the hands of Patrick Mahomes or some other stud young quarterback. But I do think that the championships is really probably the most unbeatable one if we're going to go for that. You know, you figure someone plays 18 years in the league, they have to win 6 championships, right, to tie Brady. Like, that's just absurd.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things too that's crazy is that you may think that Mahomes is more talented than Brady, and he probably is. But one of the things is that Mahomes would have to average 11 and a half wins per year in the regular season for 20 seasons just to get to where Brady is right now for regular season wins. And Mahomes may throw for 400 touchdowns over like a 10-year period, I feel. But he's probably not going to be throwing 40 touchdowns in his 20th year in the league. You know, this is the kind of stuff that we haven't really seen. And, yeah, totally feeling like, you know, Brady's just got a lot of stats that kind of, you know, I hear what you're saying about Mahomes maybe, but I just think it's kind of going to be impossible to beat some of those records.
And one final thing, too, not just 6 Super Bowls, he's been in 9. If he gets to 10, please, like Mahomes – will he play 20 years? Probably not. I just think Brady, his drive to always be the greatest, not just from a football perspective now. He wants Jordan at 6. He wants to surpass him and get to 7. This is the greatest athlete of all time when he's trying to surpass. I don't know if Mahomes, he's going to be too busy doing TikTok videos with his brother his whole life. I don't know if he's got enough time to do 20 years of this.
Yeah, so getting on to the team that the Bucks are going to be facing next week, the Saints. The Saints, you know, it was probably a closer game than people expected, but they beat the Bears big in the second half to go to a victory. Some questions in Chicago in terms of, do you think the Bears will bring back Mitch Trubisky? For my money, he hasn't been as bad as people have said. Yeah, I feel like with Nick Foles, they weren't really able to get a whole lot done with him. He wasn't able to do too much. Mitch Trubisky has like a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. He's won a lot of games over the past 3 years too. What do you guys think is going to be the plan in Chicago moving forward?
I think the plan
is. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I think the plan is going to be they're going to get rid of Mitch. I don't place the blame on Mitch. I think Nagy hasn't been as good a coach as he's been hyped up to be. But I definitely feel as though Mitch hasn't been as bad. And I think that the media, the scrutiny, yes, he's been terrible in the past, but this season overall, Mitch wasn't that bad. And he actually looked decent in that game. And I think Nagy just gave up. I think Nagy felt like he couldn't win. I didn't like they weren't aggressive. I just didn't love what I saw that game. But Frank, what do you think?
I think they're going to keep Mitchell Trubisky. And look, I don't like Mitchell Trubisky at all. I have a personal bias against wide receivers trying to play quarterback in the NFL. So I'll never believe in Tannehill. Just not my thing. Matt Jones ruined it for everybody. But what I do think is that they should keep him. Matt Nagy and Mitchell Trubisky, they're 12 games over 500. That's unbelievable because we don't even consider them to be all that elite a duo. So I think that's pretty impressive, and we should pay attention to that. This year, their record with Trubisky and their record with Foles is a joke. It's a mirror image, and it shows you why it'd be smart to keep him. I just don't believe in him. I don't. But Nagy's been a good coach, and he just couldn't get it done with Foles because I think he needs a mobile quarterback for his scheme.
I agree with everything you guys are saying. The one thing I keep hearing, though, is he's not that bad. We're not talking about going out to get a sandwich. It wasn't that bad. We're talking about an investment of $50 million, probably over 2 years, maybe 3 years, for a quarterback of your franchise. He shouldn't have been drafted at 4. Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes should have been drafted at 1, but they both got drafted ahead of them. The Bears franchise set him up to fail. He shouldn't have been drafted where he got drafted, and he's never going to hit those expectations. The defense is what carried them, especially when they first got Khalil Mack. At this point, keep him for 1 year, I guess, but everyone's going to say, yeah, he's not that bad. Is that really the franchise quarterback you want, or do you want someone that can actually get better and lead you to a Super Bowl?
Well, there's 5, maybe 6 franchise quarterbacks in the draft this year. We have a lot of guys coming to the end of the rope. You saw Roethlisberger crying. He might be done. This could be Drew Brees' last game this weekend. And there's a lot of speculation of that, right? He's already got his TV contract signed, ready to go. If I'm Drew, I don't go out without fans in the stands, but he has his reasons, and he's probably done. So I guess we'll see if the Bears can get a quarterback that late in the first round. I don't know what their pick is. Is it early 20s?
The Bears?
Yeah.
It'll be late teens.
Yeah. Because they snuck in. Right. It'll be a late teen pick. They should be able to get a Kyle Trask there. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I would say is that obviously, Justin's point is well taken. You don't just want like a middle of the road guy, but you're probably looking at over the last like 25 years there in Chicago that Jay Cutler's been the best quarterback. They've had like Jim McMahon, Jim Harbaugh. But I mean, aside from that, Mitch Trubisky is probably the best quarterback that they've had outside of that. I mean, it's been
I would take Grossman and Kyle Orton. I will take both of them. Those two quarterbacks got them to a Super Bowl. Mitchell Trubisky can't get them across the street.
Rex Grossman got them to a Super Bowl with his 0 rating in that last game.
That was their defense that got them to the Super Bowl.
They have the same type of team now.
0 rating. My blood alcohol level is higher than Rex Grossman's passer rating at some games. I mean, for God's sake.
Hey, one of them got to a Super Bowl.
The point is that Mitch Trubisky, while he's not great, he's been better than a lot of guys they've had in there, like Kyle Orton, Rex Grossman, Jim Miller, like some of these absolute scrubs, the McCowns. They've had like both McCowns in there. So that's like my only point is just that, maybe you invest a little bit more in that defense and you kind of keep that piece in there. Trubisky's not terrible.
So there was
that
one
kind of like a sandwich.
There was that one play in the Saints game where he was rushing. I think he needed to get like 2 extra yards to get the first down. And instead of diving to get the first down, he just went out of bounds. And they had 4th down. They turned it over.
Yep.
Even Ryan Tannehill would have dove for it and gotten that first down. I think Mitch Trubisky would be a decent quarterback in a city that doesn't really care about football. But he's in Chicago. They want to tear him apart. I mean, he went to UNC. He's not like this great quarterback. He's a good quarterback. But I would never, as a GM, want to sign him to $50 million contract. He's had 5 years to figure it out. He hasn't yet. Could he get better? Yeah, but I don't know. It's hard for me to say as a fan that he's going to be anything better than what he is right now.
So we have the 3rd installment of Saints vs. Bucks this season. Obviously, the first 2 games, the Saints win those both pretty handily, and Brady really wasn't that good. You guys think Brady is going to go down for a 3rd time against the Saints this season, or do you think it's going to be a little bit different this weekend?
I always hear that it's hard to beat a team 3 times in the same season.
Yep.
But statistically, that's not true because it doesn't happen very often. I spent a fair amount of time looking. What I can tell you is it's either happened 17 times or 20. Can't quite figure it out. Don't care. Because in both equations, 66% of the time, the team that won the previous 2 times will win again. I think in this particular case, styles make fights. They have the ability to bring pressure from within the middle. They're going to push Brady in the pocket. That's the only time he struggles. I could see him winning. I'm going to put money on him losing.
I'm actually agreeing with Frank here. I've been saying since day 1 this season, the reason why Brady doesn't get to the Super Bowl is because he has going to have to go through the Superdome, play Breeze in the playoffs. Breeze is money in the playoffs. He's not the same old Breeze that has been, but now Kamara's running the offense. And
he's money in the dome.
Michael Thomas also, he came back last week. Granted, he's hurt. He didn't look great, but he also didn't have to play the whole game. So another week, let's hope he gets better. I mean, the Buccaneers secondary is an absolute joke. Let's just hope that I'm a Brady fan, but I don't see it happening. I'm going with Frank here. 3-0 Saints.
Man, obviously I've loved Brady for a long time. I definitely am a big fan of Drew Brees. I think he's a class act on and off the field. And it's going to be tough to see him go. I think he got, cheated out of Super Bowl against Tom Brady when he was with the Pats. I think that even, that Vikings play where their defense blew it for him. It's been a tough run for Drew. And I think that this could be the year that he's going to get back to the Super Bowl. I don't necessarily think he'll win, but I definitely, the Saints have all the talent in the world. They've beaten the Bucks twice. The Bucks just might not match up that well against them. I'm going to go with the Saints this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I just have to disagree. I feel like the Bucks team is rounding into form. I feel like they're a much different team than when they saw the Saints twice earlier in the season. I feel like Drew Brees, I mean, you guys are saying that he's money in the playoffs. I feel like he's a letdown every year in terms of what he does in the play. The Saints are usually like a top seed and supposed to be like favored. They've lost 2 games in a row, like 2 seasons in a row where they were favorited. So I just feel like he's kind of dropped the biscuit a couple of years in a row. Obviously, it's not just him. There's going to be a defense as well, but I feel like, Tampa is just a team that's probably primed to score in the 30s. I feel like the Saints are going to probably have to do the same, and I don't know if they're going to.
Did Drew Brees lose it, or did the refs blow it 2 years in a row? I mean, come on, man.
Dude, you're a Pats fan. You can't go against the refs.
I don't even know what the tuck rule is, man. I don't know what you're talking about.
Let me just say, 3 of the 4 quarterbacks in the NFC have tremendous stakes on the line. Aaron Rodgers needs more than 1 Super Bowl for the type of quarterback that we think he is. Drew Brees being the all-time passing leader and having 1 chip is a problem. Tom Brady getting 7, those 3 quarterbacks have everything to lose and everything to gain from another Super Bowl. I mean, everybody in the AFC is young. Nobody cares about Jared Goff. The 3 quarterbacks that have the most on riding on the line are those 3, the 3 oldest, and I'm fascinated by it.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, obviously, these guys have a lot at stake here. Before we kind of dive into them and some of the other action, let's talk about one of the upsets that I thought was pretty big. I don't think anybody really had this one on the map. The Browns really kind of just knocking out the Steelers, scoring. The Steelers decided they wanted to play after the Browns scored 28 points. I mean, what the hell was this? Browns get out to a 28-point lead. And Juju Smith-Schuster just looking absolutely foolish with his comments about the Browns and them being a bunch of people that know what he knows. Guys, what the hell happened to the Steelers after a 13-0 start to this season?
Juju Smith-Schuster has almost, I don't want to say he's turning to AB, but what is in the water in Pittsburgh with these diva wide receivers? Juju has made so much of this season about himself, created such a distraction. He's exactly the type of guy you definitely don't want to ride with in the playoffs. It's all about Juju. Wouldn't stop posting on TikTok. I get it. Wait till the offseason. You can TikTok all you want, dancing on the other team's logos. Are you kidding me? It's the most disrespectful thing I've ever seen. You want to see people get amped up to play a football game? Go dance on their logo pregame, post it on TikTok, and see how hard that the team is playing you plays, you specifically and your brothers and the rest of your team. In the NFL, they say you don't need any more motivation, right? That is one of the few things you can do to get someone to play beyond their level of skill. And the Browns not only played beyond their level, but the Steelers, I'm telling you, man, all the negative press, everything about Juju, that's been wearing on a lot of the other guys. All the talk about Juju. It's a team sport. Juju made it about himself. I get that the TikToks had other guys in it. Man, Juju was one of the most liked players in the league, and he became one of the least liked players in the league in a matter of a year, all because of his TikTok antics. I'm out on Juju. Bad move, buddy. This is your fault.
What's wearing on the Steelers is actual wear and tear. You just saw what happens when a team for 13 weeks has an elite offensive and defensive line, and then they get hurt, and then they get old. And then when you do not win at the point of attack in football, bunk whatever your skill position players are. You're probably going to lose. I think Juju before the game, I think it's wildly overblown, but it's probably annoying some people in the locker room. I think his comments before the game are far more detrimental to his team's chances in that game than any TikTok. And for as far as most disrespectful thing, no, sir. I give you T.O. spiking the ball on the Dallas Star. But how about Chase Claypool after the game? This was just a bad performance by the Steelers all the way around. Cocky beforehand, refusing to give the opponent respect afterhand, and during the game, they quite literally shit themselves. Like, this was a horrible performance, poetically bad.
How does Juju Smith-Schuster come out and say also after the game that he doesn't regret what he said?
Browns is Brown.
This guy, honestly, before Frank spoke, I was going to say this guy honestly makes T.O. look like he had respect. Like, it's like the guy freaking led the league in TikTok videos. It's just like 2 years ago, this guy was kind of like an unsung hero when he still had AB on the team. Like, he put up a great year, and then he's just kind of been like these last 2 years, like he really hasn't been nearly as effective. And, he's just talking way too much. Obviously you've got to be pissed off if you're the other guys, this guy just kind of mouthing off and kind of ruining their chance. But yeah, I mean, I just don't get how guys come out, they say all this stuff, and then he can't even say that he like regrets what he said. Like, let's be real, dude. You regret what you said.
If Whitey was on right now, I just want to say, Hulu has live sports. You seen that commercial of Baker Mayfield a million times? The first time ever, those stupid commercials. Baker's on the field dancing, having a blast. I've been hating Baker for, not hating, but I thought he's been pretty overrated. They did all of this without Odell Beckham Jr., without their head coach, without their starting Pro Bowl offensive guard. And they went in and they beat them. They crushed them. The Steelers, this franchise, I mean, everyone wants to talk about how great Mike Tomlin is every year. Mike Tomlin this, Mike Tomlin that. What was that? I feel like the Steelers fail in the playoffs more than any other franchise. The expectations, the year after year of them trying to beat the Patriots. Oh, they're favored in this game, then the Patriots go in there and kick the crap out of them. I mean, they are let down every year in the playoffs. Since he won against Arizona, he's been a failure in the playoffs. Let's face it, the Browns are the Browns, but Pittsburgh is Pittsburgh. It's the same thing every year.
Yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh's had a lot of stinkers. I mean, I still love that loss against Tebow in the playoffs. And then the Pats just completely wiped their asses with Tebow the next week. Like, Tebow looked like a hero against the Steelers. Magically completes that pass to Demaryius Thomas that he takes like 80 yards to the house. But then Ben is just having this knack of kind of throwing a ton of picks in big games. He threw 5 picks against the Jaguars a few years ago and lost to Blake Bortles, for Christ's sake. And then he throws 3 interceptions in this one and losing to Mayfield. Josh Dodd puts up a great thing, saying is Big Ben done. I really don't see how. I didn't see how he was going to come back this year, and give him kudos for coming back this year through a big injury and being pretty good through 11 games. I don't see any way they can bring him back as the starting quarterback next year. What do you guys think on that?
If he comes back next year, they owe him $40 million. Would you pay Ben Roethlisberger $40 million next year at age 39, 40, what you just saw? I feel bad for him. His arm, like he's banged up. He's been hurt more than any other quarterback in the NFL the past 15, 16 years.
I'll bring Ben back on for that much money on one condition and one condition only. He hits up Alex Guerrero and he gets on the TB12 plan, baby. That's the only answer. Look, Ben's got the mind. I honestly believe that if he actually were to train correctly, I mean, we're talking about a dude who literally spent his off season watching porn and drinking beer for his entire career. He finally works out one year. They were killing it. Obviously, the fatigue happened. Frank's got great points about their defense. They lost 2 out of their 3 Pro Bowl linebackers, right? I mean, their defense was what it was. I guarantee you, if their defense had those players, wasn't missing anyone, they beat the Browns. I don't see any way that they lose that game. I bring Ben back for $40 million all day. I want a legit conditioning program. I want him to live football every minute of every day. I want him thinking about how he can be better and continue to extend his career.
The good news is for the Steelers, they have a guy they drafted. I mean, I don't believe he's good, but they have a guy they drafted. And then at the end of the day, NFL contracts are written on napkins. So understand, whether he comes back or not, he's not getting $40 million. We don't have to worry about that. That will get restructured or prorated or whatever have you.
You don't even need a Big Ben. Honestly, this defense they have studs everywhere. You don't need Big Ben. You can have an average quarterback with this offense, with the weapons, especially.
Is Mason Rudolph average? Is Mason Rudolph average? Because that's the only other replacement.
No, you need a veteran type guy to come in, not a guy that's unproven. Because I mean, I think Eric Ebron is one of the most underrated tight ends in football, and he never got.
He didn't drop the ball every.
You need a better running back too. James Conner James Conner is like running LeGarrette Blount speed these days. Like it's just pretty slow. But
yeah, they can't get anything going in the run game. Yeah, we got Whitey finally chiming in, saying what the Steelers need to do in terms of their quarterback situation. Need to trade for Darnold or get Wentz or Hurts. Yeah, that's a pretty ideal scenario. I don't think that's going to be happening.
They don't have the money or the capital.
Nick Smith coming in to save me with some of the GOAT slander, saying that TB12 is going for 400 plus this week. Just wondering where he was about 15 minutes ago. Let's flip the page to talk about the Bills a little bit. You know, we've kind of been talking about the Bills a lot the last couple of weeks, and Bills win their first playoff game since 1995 over the Colts. I don't believe they've won 2 playoff games since 1993. Did the Colts head coach blow it, or did the Bills win it? I feel like the Colts kind of blew it. What did you guys think? What was your assessment of that game?
Frank Reich threw the game so that he can get Carson Wentz. That is the only logical explanation for some of those 4th down calls. It was horrible. You had Jonathan Taylor running like a hot knife through butter, abandons it with the lead. I mean, it didn't make a lot of sense to me. I'd like to say the Bills came out and won. I think they were the better team, but based on how that game went, oh yeah, that was absolutely a choke job.
Yeah, I feel like the Bills. I mean, the Bills are the better team. They should have won by more, and I don't think they played their best game. I really feel like the Colts had their chance. I really feel like the Colts should have won that game, and the coach blew it. I mean, let's just call it what it is. You're in the first half, you're going for it in 4th and 2, instead of kicking a field goal. That's 3 points right there. I mean, the kicker missed a field goal, but they had their chance. The Bills did not look like the elite Bills we've been seeing the past couple of weeks.
Is Josh Allen the type of quarterback that you can win a Super Bowl with? We've seen him make a lot of mistakes in big time moments.
No, he takes 20-yard sacks and throws the ball over his head for laterals in playoff games. These are top of the list of things you cannot do and win with.
So talking about another team that almost, kind of put it away, the Titans kind of blowing their game as well. And Lamar Jackson finally getting his first win. You know, he's made the playoffs each year, whatever, but has really done kind of pretty bad the past couple of years. And, finally gets a first playoff victory. He ran for like 130 some odd yards or something like that. I strongly feel like Lamar Jackson can never win a Super Bowl. You just have to put too many things around him. You have to make the entire team around him. You have to make sure he has a good running back, fullback. He's got to have good tight ends. And I just feel like he's not going to hold up. This is the second straight year that he ran for 1,000 yards. How many more years is this guy realistically going to be able to do that with that frame? What do you guys think about Lamar Jackson and him being a legitimate guy that you can win a Super Bowl with?
He absolutely is a legitimate guy you can win a Super Bowl with. They need to give him a little bit better weaponry, I think. Obviously, I believe his team as constructed with the right game plan in place and everyone playing to their potential could potentially win a Super Bowl. I like the Dez signing, but I really want to see them get another legitimate wide receiver in there. Their running game, their O-line, the tight end. I mean, they actually have an injured O-lineman right now. I don't think this is Baltimore's year, but I think it's coming. I think Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, they've got a great coach. They've got a great team. They need a little bit more firepower on defense, but, I believe in Lamar Jackson. He's special. And what he's able to do, I mean, as both a passer and a runner, it's pretty exceptional.
Some of those sidearm baseball throws that Lamar Jackson had, I didn't know he had those in his repertoire. They were awfully nice to see. There were some times where they had a screen called, the defense called it, blew it up, saw it, and Lamar still gets it under a guy's elbow, around a guy's shoulder, boomerangs it. Sure, it's a 3-yard game, but that could have been a pick. That could have been a sack. I mean, he showed himself. What I wanted to get into, and I'm sorry, the Titans game, their all-world running back didn't do anything. And they still should have won that game. That game was a wild exhibition of what happened when your coach makes it. I don't think it was a horrible day for Vrabel. It wasn't a good day. But what it showed you is Ryan Tannehill cannot be asked to win. Because all he had to do was throw the ball in man coverage to 2 freak wide receivers, and he couldn't do it. He did it early in the game, but when he needed to do it, he couldn't do it. I mean, A.J. Brown is a freak. He's 60% on a 50-50 ball.
I mean, I know Alex mentioned it. Ronnie Stanley's out. He's the best left tackle probably in football, at least top 3. I think the problem this year with Lamar Jackson wasn't Lamar Jackson. I think what Baltimore was trying to make him do was sit in the pocket more and become more of a pocket passer. And then they just kept losing. And I think once they lost the Patriots here, Harbaugh was like, all right, screw it. Let's just go back to last year. You running around and like trying to figure plays out. He needs more talent at wide receiver, obviously. The tight end situation, fine. But the problem to me with the Ravens, honestly, was their defense wasn't as good as it was last year. Their secondary, especially. Marlon Humphrey took a little bit of a step back. They lost
Earl Thomas.
The linebackers were decent.
They jettisoned them.
Exactly. This team just wasn't as good as last year. But they're going to be fine. And Lamar Jackson's 22, right? 22, 23. He's already won an MVP. He won the Heisman. This guy is going to get to a Super Bowl. Does he win it? I don't know, but he will get there eventually.
Oh, he won the Heisman? Stop the presses. Let's name all the Heisman quarterbacks that are amazing.
You know who hasn't won a Heisman, Billy? Tom Brady.
Yeah, I'm sure he wishes he could trade a Super Bowl in for one.
Which one?
So turning the page to the NBA, Jason Tatum, for the second time in his career, won East Player of the Week honors, becoming the first Celtic to do so in consecutive seasons since, you probably remember, the little guy, Isaiah Thomas. And the St. Louis native did it with a weekly average of 33 points, 5 rebounds. He shot 53% from the field. He shot 53% behind the arc. Did Jason Tatum hear us last week on our conversation when we said that Jaylen Brown might be the best young star? I mean, are we just basically seeing Jason Tatum kind of really do what he can do? And can he do this over a season? We've seen him do it for a week at a time. We've seen him do it in playoff series. Is he ready to take this step for an entire season?
So I feel like, am I wrong, but shouldn't Bradley Beal have won Eastern Conference Player of the Week last week? Didn't he have like 102 points in 2 games? And then the week before, how did Jaylen Brown not get it, but Tobias Harris got it? Like, what's going on here? I mean, for scratch that, I mean, Tatum had a great week. This duo looks more and more, it's just they're feeding off each other. You saw like in Jaylen Brown's big game, Tatum's giving him the ball. He's hoping that Jaylen Brown has a big game. I mean, they're playing well off each other. This duo is much more advanced than I thought it would be this early in the season. I thought it would take a little bit more time, especially with Hayward out and Kemba not playing, for them really to, just become this dynamic duo of being a top 5 duo in the NBA. I love this team, and I can't wait to see what this team can really do this year.
Danny Ainge got the best player in back-to-back drafts with pick 3. The best player in back-to-back drafts. Crazy to think about it, but he did it. I mean,
so we got 10 games. That's not enough of a sample size.
Oh God, they're so young though. They're
relax. I'm the one who has them winning the conference. Settle down in your chair there. What I'm super impressed by, even in the small 10-game sample, is that both of them are shooting above 40% from the 3-point line. That is the friggin' number. Jaylen Brown shooting 40. Well, right now it's 45%. It'll come down. But if he can stay high 30s, that's all he needs, because he's the best finisher on the team. And if he can not just make you respect him from outside, but be a legitimate guy who can shoot from 3-point range off the dribble, which is something he's done more of this season and made more of, that'll be impressive. That'll take some of the pressure off of Tatum. And we still got Kemba coming back, and we never need Kemba to be old Kemba. But if he can be a third scorer on a team headed up by 2 studs, we'll be just fine.
I hope we trade Kemba. He's a defensive liability.
Is it just me now? Like when Jaylen Brown gets the ball, I'm like, this is going in. Like whenever he starts dribbling with the shot clock coming down, he has fadeaways. He can dribble. He can do these like 18-foot shots. I mean, back last year, a lot of his shots were catch and shoot threes in the corner. He's doing that now, but now he's taking a step back and even going farther with those 3-pointers. And around the perimeter, it's just swish every single time. Like, where did this come from? I mean, every year his development has gotten better and better. This year, I feel like he's skipped 2 steps. and just looks so confident in his game. It's remarkable. And as everyone knows, I'm a Jaylen Brown boy, and I am pumped to see this.
Yeah,
Well,
I
there's
mean, if
something
Jason
about-
Tatum wasn't on the team, you could honestly argue that Jaylen Brown could have been the player of the week this week as well. He averaged 25 and 8. They were undefeated. So it's like they're just pushing each other. And kind of to Justin's point, I mean, Jaylen Brown has just really been able to develop an offensive repertoire that I thought when he came in the league, he had an NBA body and he tried hard and he was smart. But you never thought that he was going to be able to develop into a 25-point-a-game guy. And obviously it's only through 10 games. But given what he did last year over an entire season, I mean, it certainly looks like he can be a 25-point-a-game guy on a good team.
There's something about being on the trade block for 4 years that'll really help your development go faster. There's something about a sense of urgency that happens when we're going to trade you for Kawhi and we're going to trade you for James Harden and we're going to try to trade you for AD way back when.
Frank, you're right. That's why Marcus Smart isn't shooting as much this year. Because he's been in the freaking trade block for 5 years.
It's very funny how miserable Marcus Smart seems to be on a good team. I think he felt with the departure of Hayward that his offensive gravity would be bigger. And it's not. And it shouldn't be. But he doesn't necessarily look like the most happy 7-3 Celtic I've ever seen.
I don't think any Celtic's going to be happy until they win a championship. So I don't want them to be happy yet. I don't want them to be hungry. I don't want them to be sitting around congratulating themselves. Think about Kobe. What's Kobe's mentality?
This is not Kobe's NBA. This is the AAU NBA.
It's not, but I actually believe in this Celtics team to have that sort of mentality. They aren't going to be satisfied with anything but a championship. Imagine coming as close as they have to making the finals all these years in a row with such a young team. They know they can win a championship.
Could I send Jaylen Brown back at you? Because the year that they lost to LeBron in 6 or 7, Jaylen Brown come out and basically talk about how they were just close enough and he didn't really care. I mean, and I'm not saying that's indicative of how he feels because he's a dog. But it's the AAU culture. That doesn't mean they're not hungry because they pat themselves on the shoulder. You will not see an NBA player that does not pat themselves on the shoulder in 2020. And if you do, they're probably Draymond. There's somebody who's not good enough, and that chip on their shoulder is how they got there. Stars aren't like that nowadays.
I disagree. I mean, there's definitely guys that are like that. Giannis Antetokounmpo, he's not patting himself on the shoulder. He thinks it's absolutely inexcusable he hasn't won a championship yet and is doing everything he can in his power to get there. The Bucks aren't giving him
how much
much
pressure
help.
has he put on the organization by signing early? How much pressure has he put on the organization?
Look,
he's got all the power. He's a two-time MVP. He's 25.
They brought in Drew Holiday.
Good enough.
They brought in Drew Holiday. That was a big get for them. Much better than Eric Bledsoe. They should have gotten Bogdanovic. He didn't want to come to the Bucks. Giannis tried to convince him to come. He didn't want to come. There's other guys out there, and they will make more moves.
I do agree that Giannis is a dog, but I do agree that there's not many guys that are like that, though.
There is a handful of guys.
I think we have 2 of them. I think Giannis is a guy like that. I think like Damian Lillard is probably another guy that you could list like that. But I do think when it comes to like naming those guys, you're probably only using 1 or 2 hands to name that many stars in this league. I mean, it's.
I think Jaylen Brown's one of those guys.
I do.
Jason Tatum was never here. I think he'd be trying to recruit guys in here, wouldn't be trying to get out. I love this team because Jason Tatum is the only one that has gotten the red carpet treatment since they got to the NBA. Everyone else has had to work for it. I mean, Kemba, granted, he had a great career at UConn, but he wasn't this great prospect coming in into college. All these guys have had to work for everything they've earned. And that's why they're fun to watch. And that's why I'm so happy that the Kyrie Irvings of the world, and I mean, Gordon Hayward is what he is, but I love this team. I didn't think they were going to be this good this year. Let's leave it there.
Oh, we'll get to Kyrie. Don't you worry.
What's that?
Someone on this panel told you that they would be this good.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. I thought the Heat would be good. Apparently they suck.
I knew the Heat were primed for a step down. I mean, they obviously were not going to be as good as they were last year.
Don't hate on Kelly Olynyk. Guy's a goat.
Honestly, the Heat should have traded Tyler Herro for James Harden while they should have calling the Rockets right now. I think is Harden staying? It doesn't feel like the pressure's on anymore. It seems like he's gelling with the new team. Woods looking good. DeMarcus Cousins not fully himself, but I'm liking what I'm seeing. John Wall, fantastic.
Isn't
I'll
Harden a
take
free
John
agent
Wall
next
over
year?
Westbrook 7 days out of the week. Give me John Wall over Westbrook healthy. He looks great. Smart basketball player, not a total liability out there. I mean, I'll take John Wall on this Rockets team. He's got a better team this year than he had last year.
Isn't Harden a free agent next year?
I'm not sure. Probably.
Because the
No,
Rockets.
no, he's not. He's got 2 years left on his contract.
Well, he turned down 2 years, $50 million per in this offseason. So I didn't know if he was a free agent.
They got him for about 16 more months. They should absolutely not trade him until they get the deal they have. He's going to, well, I guess you can't sell out the arena right now because of COVID, but he's a loser, don't get me wrong, but he's big time. He's a superstar. He's one of 4 to 12 superstars you'll get every season in the NBA. And he's been one perennially for the last decade.
That's true. Alex brings up an interesting point, saying that he'd rather have Wall than Westbrook. But I do think that Westbrook is fallen off a lot. You kind of saw him getting swatted by Taco Fall, and I do think it's an interesting point. Like I think Westbrook's fall has kind of been. I mean, sure, he's still averaging a triple-double, but they're losing a lot of games in Washington, and that kind of brings up the point of Bradley Beal, as Justin kind of talked about. He scored 101 points in 2 games last week. He followed up a 60-point effort with a 41-point effort. And with that being the case, and with Washington not being very good, do you see a move happening for Bradley Beal? Do you think he's potentially going to be on the block? Do they hang on to him and try to make Westbrook happy? What do you see happening there?
I think they're going to keep him, and then he's going to leave for nothing, which is why they should absolutely trade him. I'd never like it when you lose somebody for nothing. I don't care. Don't give me compensatory picks. Don't give me anything. Don't give me trade exception. If he's leaving, if Anthony Davis is walking out that door, you got to trade him. You have to trade him. You don't have another option. Bradley Beal's unbelievable. I believe they're going to try to keep him because they're stuck with Westbrook and they'd like to have a good team, but he's gone. Because if I'm him, there's nothing you can pay me. You could pay me infinity dollars. I'm going somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, he is the top trade target to me in the NBA right now because he actually plays somewhat defense too. But he's just a stud, and I feel like anywhere he goes, he makes that team immediately better, and he'll buy into anything that's going on in that locker room. Where James Harden's he's James Harden. God, if you put Bradley Beal on Philly, how good would that team be? Like, he is kind of their missing piece, an elite shooting guard.
What if you put him on the Nets too?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like the Nets need another shooting guard. I don't even know what the Nets need, to be honest. Maybe a replacement for Kyrie Irving, but other than that, because he doesn't play sometimes, I guess. He just takes games off when he doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, you gotta love that in your max player. So Gordon Hayward, as we kind of coming off the Celtics, we'll get to Gordon Hayward. Has a second 40-point performance, and that kind of brings me to my point where I didn't think he was going to have any market this offseason. I'm kind of surprised that any team was willing to pay him $30 million. I thought it was kind of a formality that we were going to be with him this year. And if we had him on this team, I feel like they'd be an absolute wagon. If he was coming off the bench, probably scoring anywhere from 15 to 18 points a game off the bench, I feel like the Celtics would be completely rolling over teams right now. Do you guys think it's at all an oversight getting rid of Hayward?
It's tough usage. There's only one basketball. Can only go around so much. And while Hayward has his, abilities, I don't know that we have a better record if we have Hayward on the team than we do right now. And I think Hayward wanted to have that true number one role on a team, and the Celtics couldn't offer him anything more than really the third or fourth option when Kemba's healthy. So unfortunately, I really think that it was just time for us to move on from Gordon. We got a great trade exception from him. I think we're going to use that. I think having a lot of our younger guys get playing time is going to bode very well for us at the trade deadline when we're looking to make a big play. And, I think it's just the best for everyone, and I'm happy for Gordon. He deserves to play well. He deserves to be happy. He had the worst luck I've ever seen a basketball player have over the course of his time with the Celtics. So good for him.
Look, he led a team at Baylor. He led a team in the NBA. He comes here, picked up at the airport by his college coach who's telling him, we're going to build our offense around you. A month later, we get Kyrie Irving. Okay, then he breaks his leg in the first minute of his Celtic career. And then we draft Jason Tatum. We have Jaylen Brown. Then we draft Jason Tatum. It wasn't in the cards for him. And it's greater than the sum of your parts. He wasn't going to do what he's doing in Charlotte here. And him wanting to have that opportunity would have held other people from getting shots. I mean, you've seen it since Rozier was here. We've had an embarrassment of riches that hasn't been better than the sum of its parts for maybe the last 4 years. And now that you finally don't have an excess and our problem is depth for the first time in a long time, the people at the top can eat. And that's what we've been missing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Hayward, when you see him on the court, he does so many great things for us last year, especially from a defensive standpoint. He can guard multiple positions and his passing. However, I feel like last year there were so many times where I don't know if it was confidence or he just didn't want to step up in the moment and do what he's doing in Charlotte in terms of going to the rack when you have the ball, taking that shot instead of making an extra pass. He never did that here for some reason. I don't know what it was. He wanted to be more of the, dishing it off to somebody else. And we don't need that. We need more of a shooter off the bench than another ball handler because I think Pritchard and Smart, once Kemba comes back, are efficient ball handlers. So it will be better for us, especially in the long term. Especially $35 million for Hayward, too. We're talking 4 more years of that. I'm all set with that.
I think part of the reason he passes the ball is because he has no desire to get into arguments with the Marcus Smarts, the Kyrie Irvings, the Jaylen Browns of the world. It's so much easier to take a game-winning shot when LaMelo Ball is yelling at you. When you have legit a star in Kyrie or, quite frankly, an a-hole in Smart, which I like, but it's tough to deal with. And I don't think a guy like Hayward is equipped for that.
I also feel like Hayward's a really nice guy, it seems like. And I feel like there was a lot of tension because when he came back from his injury, Brad put him right back in the starting lineup, and you had all the rookies and the young players the year before take us to the Eastern Conference Finals without Hayward. And then when Hayward kept coming back, I just feel like they never really gelled together, the team and Hayward. They didn't dislike him, but they didn't love him. He wasn't one of them. And I don't think they were really upset when he left. They would have liked to have him back, but they weren't dying to have him back.
It reminded me of Kevin Love with the Cavs. It just felt like he was all, I just felt like he wasn't part of the team, for whatever reason, the guys weren't treating him like a brother, to all of them. And I don't really know. I wasn't in the locker room. It seems like there was more than just, a lack of opportunities for Hayward. It seems like there was more to it for him. And I think, when we had Hayward, when we had Kyrie, if neither one of those two gets hurt, we might already have Banner 18. We really might. But unfortunately that we didn't get to that point. And in the 2 years that they were here, it just wasn't what it was supposed to be. So
Alex, get out a pen and a piece of paper because I agree with you 100%. Because I agree with you for once 100%.
I think the big reason why the guys never gelled with him, the young guys never really gelled with him, is because 2 years ago when he came back from that injury and was averaging 10 points a game, Brad was so quick to play him for 30 minutes when he would basically do nothing. And it's kind of like these young guys are all we're working our asses off all that and still not, getting anywhere near this amount of playing time. And it was kind of he was just the good student or whatever, the suck up. And basically got 30 minutes, even though it didn't seem like he deserved it. He clearly wasn't as healthy as he needed to be 2 years ago. And I feel like he was just getting way too much time. You kind of can't sit a guy that you're paying $35 million to, but it's kind of hard to start a guy that's averaging 10 points over some of these young
Yes,
studs.
you can. The Knicks deactivated Marbury and Francis. They literally sat like $60 million on the bench for the last 20 games because F you. So you absolutely can sit down $30 million.
I also feel like Hayward being hurt, like I don't think Jaylen Brown is where he is in his development if Hayward never got hurt. Because you don't know what could have happened. Like Alex said, we could have gotten another banner if Irving stayed, Hayward was healthy. And I think Rozier owes a big contract to Gordon Hayward being hurt. He better have bought him a house in Charlotte when he went down there, because without Hayward being hurt, Scary Terry would have never been around. Scary Terry never got the opportunity to be in that playoffs and having that postseason. It's just sad because everyone feels bad for him. He's a really nice guy. He's a good player, but it just didn't work. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, two other guys that have been pretty surprising for Charlotte have been just so you name Scary Terry. I mean, he's averaging 20 points a game this year. I never thought he would be anything like that. And the other guy is LaMelo Ball. I mean, we knew he was a number 3 pick, but did we think he was going to be this good this early, becoming the youngest player to record a triple-double, outballing Lonzo the other day in the matchup between them? And in his last 7, he's averaging 16, 7.5, and 7.5 off the bench, mind you. Are we surprised he's this good already? Because I definitely am.
He's been a pro basketball player for 3 years, so it shouldn't be that surprising. He's been playing against grown men, so he should be a little bit further in his development than people that were in condensed college basketball season.
Did you think he was though?
Yes. Yeah. We had the same topic on the show. I said he should have been the first pick. And what's surprising me is that he's come out of the gate a better shooter from distance than I thought. And I don't just mean threes. I also mean long twos. I think he's been better shooting from range than I thought he'd be. But everything else, the rare vision, all the gifts Lonzo has, and then some, I thought he had.
He's also on the perfect team, too, with the Hornets. I feel like the franchise didn't need to start him right away. He can come off the bench and do great things. They have multiple good point guards. They have Graham. They have Rozier that can kind of handle the ball. But obviously, he's going to be the starting point guard probably after the trade deadline. I mean, they have players that can play multiple positions on that team. You can have LaMelo Ball play shooting guard. You can have him play small forward if you need to. If you have Rozier and Graham out there, and small lineups per se, it wouldn't be ideal. But they have a lot of positionless players on that team, and it works. And they're all speed. That team works. I mean, are they going to win anything serious this year? Probably not. They lack a lot of size, but they're fun to watch.
Hey, they've won 4 straight. Don't count them out in Charlotte. They got my favorite center in the league, too, Bismack Biyombo.
Oh, baby.
Still kicking around. Still kicking
guy.
around.
That guy got a good contract because he was good at the Nike camp when he was 18.
He was good with the Raptors for or was it the Raptors or was it the Mad? What team was he on?
I think it was the Raptors for 3 games or something.
Yeah, he was good for 1 series. And it was like, wow, this guy can block so many shots. Payday.
So we'll end probably with I guess 2 things I want to get to. We talked about LaMelo, but Kyrie Irving, the diva point guard, telling Steve Nash that he can't play. I mean, this guy, it's like his bitchiness knows no end. Says that he can't play not because of an injury, but because he just frankly didn't want to play. And this is exactly what you want your max contract player saying. Basically, I'll give you all the bitchiness, but I'll play 60% of the games. I mean, how upset would you have to be if you were a New Jersey fan and this guy was pulling this crap this early on? Durant's missed games, but he's coming off a crazy injury, and he also had to quarantine. I feel like Kyrie's already missed 4 or 5 games, and it's just, he kind of symbolizes the fact that these guys, just don't give a crap and don't play. 82 games used to mean something. Guys like Jordan used to strive to play 82 games. Jordy played 82 games 10 times. It feels like Kyrie Irving's never going to really get back to even 65 at this point. So, what are we thinking about Kyrie Irving?
This is getting blown out of proportion because he's the incorrigible a-hole that he is. Because Magic Johnson was winning and got his coach fired. Tim Duncan and Popovich started the we don't have to play. And almost every superstar has gotten his coach fired at some point or another. So being a difficult a-hole in the locker room comes par with the course for this level and caliber of player. I mean, I understand him being the face of evil makes it so much easier to blow this out of proportion, but this is not special to Kyrie.
I'm the biggest Kyrie hater there is. I just think it's interesting because who would you rather have? Kawhi Leonard that just comes up with excuses and doesn't play, or Kyrie that just tells the coach, you know what, I'm not playing because I don't feel like it. I mean, at least he's telling you to your face he just doesn't want to play. Kawhi is like,
honest guy.
Yeah, he's just like, you know what, Steve, Hall of Fame point guard, I'm not playing tonight. I don't feel like it. Kevin's in COVID protocols. I'm not going to play. Oh, thanks, man. Really appreciate the heads up. Like, he's a D-bag. You knew this was going to happen when you signed him. Like, is anyone surprised that this happened? No. The fact that I agree with Frank. If any other player did this, it's not news. Because it's Kyrie, it's news. I guarantee if Durant did that, it wouldn't have been news. Just saying.
Are we going to pick the wild card round, or are we going to hang up here? I must know.
Let's pick them.
Well, with that, I think we have to pick them.
Yep.
Quickly. Think the Rams are going to win. Think the Saints are going to win. I think the Ravens are going to win. I think the Chiefs are going to win.
Are you doing this by spreads or by straight up?
No, straight up, boy.
You really think the Rams are going to beat the Packers?
Yes.
All right. Well, I'll take the Packers over the Rams. I will take the Bills over the Ravens. I will take the Chiefs over the Browns. And I will take the Saints over the Bucks.
The minute that he signed with the Bucks and came in the division, you felt like that was going to be a team to contend with. That was going to be.
Oh.
Who's that?
I don't know.
I'm going.
I thought it was someone giving their picks for a second.
I'm going Bucks. I'm going Ravens. Oh God, I want to do it, but I'm not going. I'll go Chiefs and I'll go Packers. I wanted to pick the Browns so badly, but it's not a chance.
I will say
it's
the Browns.
Browns game is most interesting to me because I think there will be actual game.
Yep. The Browns can do it. Styles make fights. They can keep the Chiefs score as much as they score in 30 minutes a game. If they can only give them somewhere between 18 and 20, they've got a chance. I don't think it's going to happen, but they got a chance.
That's how we beat the Chiefs a couple years ago. We just ran it down their throats.
Billy, what do you think?
Well, I don't think I'm going to be saying anything earth-shattering. I like the Packers over the Rams. I like the Tampa Bay over the Saints. I'm going to go with the Ravens over the Bills. I just am not fully sold on Josh Allen in the playoffs, and I'm going to take the Chiefs over the Browns. I've kind of said that nobody can knock off the Chiefs, so I'm going to say consistent there.
Aren't you related to Josh Allen? What the hell?
Yeah, he's my cousin.
Yeah, what? Oh, my God. You're a terrible cousin.
No, there's no Allen that big. No real Allen.
Because no one did it, I'm going Browns beat the Chiefs. I have to be different. You can't just everyone pick all the same games.
Somebody's got to be the Paul Pierce.
And if he wins next week, I got to buy that green jersey with the Hulu has live sports commercial.
All right, everyone. Well, you heard it. Justin's got the Browns beating the Chiefs. So next week we'll definitely be sure to go to him on whatever happens there because they're going to lose by 30. That's going to do it for us this week. The hate for Josh Allen is sickening. Stud Whitey will leave us on that. I don't know. I think he's going down this weekend.
Who hates
Lamar
him?
Jackson and the crew is gonna knock him off, I think. But that's going to do it for us and our crew. We appreciate everybody hanging with. We'll catch you next Tuesday. See you then.